Hello. Second video in the Principles of Hypertrophy series. First video we covered intensity, kind of clarified what is a good intensity to train at. Those last 5 reps away from failure being the most effective reps, and the kind of aim for where you should go if hypertrophy is the goal within each set, and then that kind of qualifies as a working set. So if you're 5 reps away from failure, maybe 4, maybe 3, maybe 2, maybe 2 failure, that qualifies as one working set. Everything else is kind of a warm-up or something else. You might be working on some other physical capabilities or characteristics. So that is a big principle that leads us into volume. So now we know what qualifies as one working set. How do we then manage how many sets we should do per body part per week? So you've just done one bench press set, 4 reps away from failure by the end of the set, doing really well. Then you re-rack it and you're like, all right, that's one working set. How many more do I do? Do I jump in and do 10 by 10, like 10 more sets of bench press to failure? Would that be a good sign? And this kind of brings us into the conversation about the volume spectrum. The spectrum of volume that is effective and can lead you to make gains and can lead you to help figuring out your own programming moving forward. So the volume spectrum, it starts from one set. If you've never trained before, it is going to be an effective dose to do one hard set per body part per week. That would be enough. So just to go over with volume, how I quantify it is its number of effective sets per body part per week. That's how I measure it. It's the easiest way, rather than adding up weight times sets times reps, which no one ever does. And these are massive numbers. It's just all sets are equal. If they're an effective set on the way to failure, we count per set, per body part per week. It's the simplest way to do it, and it's easy to keep track and easy to track progress over time. So the number of sets per body part per week will depend on your experience. Again, if you're new in the gym, you could probably just do one hard set of bench press, one hard set of glute bridges, one hard set of squats, leg press, whatever exercise you want to do, whichever body part you're trying to focus on. If it's your first day in the gym in 12 months, you can just do one hard set. You're going to stimulate the muscles. However, if you've been training consistently over years, or you are a bit more trained of an individual, or it's a bit more trained individual, that kind of means you want to aim for the minimum effective amount of sets, the minimum effective volume to create a hypertrophic stimulus over time. And the research kind of suggests that's around 4 working sets per body part per week. Now this will have variation between different human beings, but that's not very many sets. If you see a lot of people in the gym, they're doing like 30 fucking sets per body part, just saying 4. But what's important here is the previous principle on intensity. You can watch that video and learn about that. It's like you've got to be in that 5 reps away from failure for it really to be an effective set, and that's where a lot of people miss out, because they go ahead and they do 20 different sets, or German volume training, or 3 sets of 12, and maybe one of those sets is effective because they're actually getting in that proximity to failure. So 4 doesn't seem like a lot, but if they're hard sets, on average, you're a trained individual, you will still make progress over the weeks. However, you are stimulating at 4 sets per week per body part, but that is probably just at one end of the spectrum, and you can push that up until it's unrecoverable from. So maybe 4 is the minimum that you want to be hitting per week, and you can start your program there. Start at just 4 sets per body part per week, add a set each week. First it's 4 sets on some kind of pulling movement, 4 sets of hard pull downs per week, or 2 sets of pull downs, 2 sets of rows. That's the back kind of sorted, 4 sets a week. But then the following week you do 5, the week after that you do 6, and you keep going until your weights that you're lifting in the gym start to fall, or the intensity that you're able to put into each set falls off. That's a kind of sign that you're not able to recover from that volume. So the volume starts at this 4 sets per week, and you keep adding a set. This is a great way to figure out your programming, great way to figure out what you're capable of in terms of recoverable volume that you can recover from. And you probably could build up to, maybe, depending on how advanced you are, potentially 15, 20 plus hard set. You're probably not getting close to 30 unless you're super advanced, or it's very likely that your sets aren't that effective. You're not that close to failure. They're not effective working sets. So this is the volume spectrum, and this is how you figure it out. You get that minimum effective amount of volume, start there, build up each week, add a set per body part per week, and that's how you can build your programs out. Start with 4 sets per week, then go 5, then go 6, until the weights start decreasing, or your intensity, you can't apply it, or you're feeling just absolutely fatigued and the training's not coming out. You stop taking PBs, then you take a deload, you stop, and you move back down to that bottom end of minimum effective dose of volume. So you go back down to 4, or maybe if you went up to 15 sets, you might want to start at 5. And then, because you've learned that it's going to take, what did it take you, 10 weeks to get up to 15 sets, 11 weeks? Maybe now you could add 2 sets per body part per week, increase the volume in a higher slope so you get up to that maximum recoverable volume at a quicker rate. So you're not just like building slowly the intensity, and you'll get more volume in, and therefore create a bigger stimulus over more weeks, when you can ramp up to that maximum recoverable volume faster. Now, I hope this all makes sense, and this is, I hope this kind of brings in to the overall picture of principles of why having these principles helps everything in your training start to align. So it starts with this intensity principle. You've got to get close to failure, proximity to failure. That's important. That helps you build on to this volume principle, of this volume spectrum, why you're doing this many sets and why you're building up across the weeks. Everything starts to falling into place. You have these reasons why you're doing it. You're not just kind of blagging it as you go. All right, today I'll do 3 sets of 10. Next week I'll do 3 sets of 10. Next week I'll do 3 sets of 10. You're staying in the same lane. You're never really pushing yourself. You're never really developing that stimulus. A lot of those sets are a waste of time. They're fatiguing for sure, but they're not stimulating. There's a big difference. You can get tired running a marathon. That's a huge amount of volume, but you're not stimulating any muscle growth. In fact, more likely the opposite, because you're so far away from failure in your musculature. But yeah, volume spectrum, some key principles. I hope that all makes sense. I hope I put it together. I hope my kind of storytelling abilities. Another point I just wanted to add quickly on is, this is interesting because if you like other aspects of training or life and you just want to make a bit of hypertrophy progress, you can just hit 4 hard sets a week per body part and still kind of develop some good musculature over time by making those sets harder, keep increasing the intensity, and just play with the intensity a bit, how many reps away from failure you are each set. And then you can still do other things. Like, a lot of my training you see on these videos is Olympic weightlifting. Nothing to do with hypertrophy. It's more power based, speed based, like all of that. But I still get some hypertrophy work in at the end. And sometimes I have full days dedicated to hypertrophy, but you can play with this volume spectrum around your needs and interests, and kind of do different training methods throughout the weeks. So you don't all just have to be like a bodybuilder, just work on trying to get bigger. You can also run, you can also play sport, but getting these effective sets in means you can kind of still progress, still get that minimum effective dose, and still manage your overall training fatigue, so you can still do other things that you enjoy. Just wanted to add that in because that's like a really big point. You don't have to do that much to develop some good stimulus and still be able to go and enjoy other things with your body. I do a lot of bouldering and stuff like that, nothing to do with building muscle. I just really like it, and it's good for other reasons. So this volume spectrum is something you can play with, you can enjoy. You've got the principles now, you can take that to your own training. Cool. Have a good day.